The Overwatch League is set to begin with a pandemic-related delayed start of the 4th season on April 16th. Whether you're into Overwatch and haven't gotten into the esports yet, you've never heard of Overwatch, but want to get in on the fun, or even if you're a seasoned viewer of Overwatch esports, our guide to Overwatch League Season 4 has a bit for everybody. The Overwatch League is a global competition with 20 different franchises located on 3 different continents, fielding players of currently 19 different nationalities. Over $4 million up for grabs, with a playoff winning team going home at least $1.5 million richer. Due to its global nature and the divisional split into the West and East, matches will be broadcasted in different time zones, allowing viewers from around the globe to catch matches while live on Saturday and Sunday. While initially planned to be a league with offline events all over the globe, the head office recently announced that the Overwatch League would be focusing more on online play, with a perceived departure from their goal of building a league that focuses on bringing offline events to the fans' doorstep in the respective home markets. For now, as the league copes with COVID-19, at least the regular season competition will be held mostly online. The season format of the Overwatch League was once again overhauled in Season 4 and is now heavily focused on the 4 seasonal tournaments and the playoffs. Each so-called tournament cycle will require teams to play 4 matches to qualify for the tournament playoffs, with 6 teams in the West and 4 teams in the East qualifying for the knockout stages. After initial pre-selection, the North American winners will travel to Hawaii to cut the ping to the Asian region down considerably and allow for international online play. The top 3 teams from each tournament will gain league points that amount to between 1 and 3 wins for the regular season standings, giving them a chunky bonus in regards to season playoff qualification. For the season playoffs, 3 teams from the West and 2 teams from the East will directly qualify. A play-in tournament for the teams around the edges of direct qualification will take place shortly after the season playoffs, allowing 3 more teams to get in. The seasonal format produces a nice pacing of your bread and butter regular season matches, as well as several high points, which are easy to tune in for once a month, and allows for both casual and hardcore viewers to get their fix. Experts seem to agree that Overwatch League Season 4 is looking to be the most competitive season ever, with many teams having upgraded their starting rosters considerably. If you're unsure which teams to follow and what they're about, here's a selection of some of the finest and most entertaining teams, and their storylines coming into Season 4. San Francisco Shock, the back-to-back champions, are going for the three-peat. The Shock have without a doubt been the most dominant team in Overwatch esports, having only missed a single of the last 6 tournament finals. The organization was able to win 3 of them as well. Moreover, in Season 2, they completed a perfect stage, not losing a single of 28 consecutive maps, also crushing both the Overwatch League finals. This season, the team around superstar coach Krusty has arguably even improved their roster, adding incredibly talented players who have yet to show their full potential on their old teams. Beyond the game, the Shock are a tight-knit group of professionals who regularly pull all kinds of shenanigans on each other on their personal streams. Their main tank Super is arguably the most famous player in the Overwatch League, having accrued a sizable streaming and YouTube audience. He has also, for instance, appeared twice on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Fairweather fans can expect smooth sailing for Hawaii multiple times this season, making them a great team to root for if one loves watching the best at what they do. Philadelphia Fusion, the perennially second. Every sport has them, the perennially second team. Throughout its franchise history, the Philadelphia Fusion have not won a single title, but have come close 4 times in their past. Built around superstar player Carpe, who is tied in the second place fate since joining the Fusion in Season 1, the team faced visa-related issues due to the organization's decision to play the 4th season of the Overwatch League in the Eastern region, with their Western players stuck in visa limbo until an unknown date due to the global pandemic the Fusion opted to sign fan favorites in off-tank Hotba, flex DPS Rascal, and main support Toby. In Season 4, the Fusion are under new leadership, with head coach 9K coming in. Last season, 9K was able to push the Paris Eternal way past their expected performances, and even won a stage title with a wild set of Korean rookies and French veterans. The popular face to the Western media from the coaching staff of the Philadelphia Fusion is assistant coach Christopher. Here's a look into the coaching philosophy of Christopher.
The player believes deep down that you have their best interests at heart. You can say anything to them and they'll take it well. The only problem you have as a coach is when the player thinks he's only doing this for his own ego, or like to get one over on you, which maybe there's like coaches in the league who suffer with those player relations. But as long as you can say anything to a player, but as long as they deep down believe that this coach wants what's best for me, it's going to get through in one way or another. And even if it's rejected terribly at the time, maybe when they lie in bed that night, they're gonna think about what you said, and then maybe it sinks in across like a few weeks, you know. But that's definitely something that I learned from reading. I think it's definitely true from my personal experience.
Los Angeles Gladiators, a colorfully star-studded ensemble. One attribute that always shined through every season for the Gladiators is ambition. A value that seems stapled to the front of their jersey and shines through especially when talking to coaching and management staff. This season, the team has once again upgraded in a major way, bringing on back-to-back Overwatch League winning main support Moth from the San Francisco Shock to form a backline with a top-rated flex support Shu. Moreover, the team was able to sign top main tank prospect Muse to complete their tank line. Stacked on every position, at least according to the preseason scrim results, they are on an excellent path, likely to become one of the best teams in Season 4. The Gladiators are the only team in the Overwatch League which have had their head coach since the inaugural season. Previously a general manager and head coach in personal union, there's no doubt to whom much of the responsibility lies in the Gladiators. This season, however, the team promoted Brenda Sue to the general manager position, who is committed to refining the process of creating a top-tier lineup.
What's the philosophy for next year? What's most important to us? And how do we want to build this team going forward? And I will say that we came to a very hard decision, and we evaluate that week after week, because I think we haven't leaned too far away from it, but I think it's always good to have that reevaluation in the time like right now where you're able to do that and you're making decisions as you go on it.
Washington Justice, making family out of mercenaries. The last two seasons have been atrocious for the Washington Justice, finishing 18th and 19th place in the regular season respectively, often being the worst team in the league before showing signs of life at the very end of the regular season. Particularly last season, in which every team was allowed to participate in the seeded season playoffs, the Justice have inspired hope in their fans and have kept up the good news ever since. Arguably making the turning point of their franchise, the team was able to land maybe the strongest hyper carry DPS player in the game in Decay. After a troubling season with the Dallas Fuel, the player was so disgruntled with the situation that he was almost ready to retire from Overwatch. A rule introduced as part of the league's contingency plan allowed the Justice to sign Decay on short-term contract for season playoffs. A move which would be transformative for their performance, almost making it to the international and final stage of the playoffs. The Justice could only be bested by the Philadelphia Fusion and the San Francisco Shock in an extremely close fashion on the back of an imposing Decay performance. For Season 4, the Justice have opted to build a team structure and infrastructure that is supposed to address the players' major concerns, giving them world-class teammates to play with, an expensive facility to practice from, and a coaching staff that allows for more room to allow players to express themselves. General Manager Pre says that he wanted to make sure that as soon as a player walks through the door of their practice facility, they would be enticed to stay.
I think he fell into a similar pattern, right? An org that he was struggling with, that they obviously got to the point that I actually don't know the specifics of how his contract was terminated early, but he was, according to Dallas, so interested in leaving that he left after the player deadline, which, like, I know that he was not, like, no one really thought about Decay being able to be picked up after that deadline. So he was basically saying, I just won't play the rest of the season. And so he clearly was coming from an org where there were things that were not working. And so this became a pattern for us where we were saying, is there going to be a team that can offer him the moon in salary? Absolutely. But is he necessarily going to want to take that after presumably being paid very well and still saying, I literally just won't play the game? And so I think that's kind of like what worked out for us, was that we are becoming, and we are, I think, that org that is just doing a really good job of taking care of our players.
Houston Outlaws, HTown Arctic with hope. If you enjoy an endless cycle of hope and disappointment every season, the Houston Outlaws are your kind of team. Much has changed from the org that participated in the inaugural season, including most of its players, its coaching staff, and even its ownership, and yet, the Outlaws remained a team with lots of unactualized potential. For Season 4, the team extended their coaching staff and brought on Shock alumni and now co-head coach of the Houston Outlaws, Junkbuck, who will lead the team alongside Harsha. The two have scouted a promising team, counting on rookies such as 17-year-old former collegiate support Juby. They also went with an unorthodox move, bringing back Jake, who had been the charismatic leader for the Outlaws during the first 2 seasons, before moving into a shoutcasting position for the Overwatch League in Season 3. For Season 4, he's back to the Outlaws, in an unprecedented move as a player coach, likely to appear on niche heroes when required, but otherwise used as an assistant coach. The Outlaws have promised to deliver both on and off the server, aiming for the top ranks as an underdog, while also looking to create high-quality content for their fans.
I think we want to be just... So one of the things that we really want to do is we want to be like a team that fans can, like, I guess, resonate with and really... Every time they go into the server, we want people to believe that we're going to be like... that we can win the match and that we're like... that we are one of the best teams in the league. The other thing is that we also want our players, like, we want to have a spotlight on those players, basically. Like, we want, this is an org that, like, understands branding is really important, that understands, like, media is really important, and, like, knows, I guess, how to approach that. And so I think that being on a team where you're, like, treated as a superstar and also you're in a team that can win is, like, those are, like, the 2 best things that you can have on a team, and those are kind of like the goals that we wanted to foster within Outlaws, and that's why I think a lot of people really either wanted to sign with us, signed with us, or, like, considered us as one of their best options.
Atlanta Reign, hand-selected and homegrown grinders. In a way like the Gladiators, even though the Atlanta Reign only entered the Overwatch League in the 2nd season, head coach Sephi has been in the organization since its inception and has clearly left his mark on it. Sephi in many ways is a refiner of systems, looking to score incremental improvements through meticulous long-term planning that compounds in advantages for his team. He seems to believe in a less of a strong hand approach than other coaches, but will rather look to impact the team with strong scouting of player skill and personality, establishing structures with more self-sufficiency. Every season, this has resulted in Sephi's teams feeling absolute top-tier DPS. And with Pelican and Kai coming in Season 4, it's no different. The Reign will have to make do with only 7 players, the smallest possible unit in the Overwatch League. But they aren't a budget roster, having invested heavily into quality. The org built their campaign for the 2021 season with incredible individual talent, in part homegrown through the Reign's former excellent academy roster. In others, a selection of some of the finest rookies coming into Season 4. A team that, from the ground up, is built around the willingness and ability to grind hard and outwork their opponents.
I mean, our goal is first. We're aiming for the very top. So, and I would never say otherwise. But I think what we will do differently this season is I think we will work a little harder. So, again, we have a small roster. There's no room for dead weight. There's no backups for anybody. You know what I mean? Everybody has a very clear role, right? And so you have to work to perform in your role. And so our expectations from the coaching staff and the organization to the players is very high. And I think the players have very, very high expectations in reverse as well. So in terms of what we will do differently, I think, is we will probably scrim more this season than we have in seasons past. So we have ranked requirements in the off season for players to play ranked games. But I think ranked has become so messy right now in terms of like hero compositions and things like that, that I do see us basically pivoting a lot of those ranked hours into just more scrim hours this season. I won't know for sure until we start scrimming and I see how players respond to the workload. But I do expect us to work very hard as a team. And there's no sort of passing the buck this season, you know? Like there's no sort of like, oh, well, it's this meta, you should play that player, you know? Or like slot this guy in or slot that guy in. It's 7 players, 6 starters, 7 players with very clear roles, you know? Our DPS players, you're responsible for these heroes, you're responsible for these heroes, so on and so forth. And we're just going to see how that goes, really, at the end of the day. But we expect we're not going to allow anybody to sort of slack off, basically.
Dallas Fuel. Death, taxes, and drama. Dallas Fuel is a team with a rich history as the most dominant name in the pre-Overwatch League era. Since the inaugural season, though, the organization faced a lot of hardship throughout its time. The underperforming results have been a great cause of hair loss for their fans, but they've always had character and will frequently be one of the most talked about organizations. Their founder and chief gaming officer Hastro has made a concerted effort to build a team with high potential in Season 4, counting on established talent from Season 3 at their core. If preseason scrims are anything to go by, you're in for a lot of heartbreak, but also a lot of exciting breakout performances. Powered by an embarrassment of riches in their talented names like Sparkle, Fearless, Hanbin, and more, the peaks of the roster should be rivaling the best in the world. The team consists mostly of members of the elite South Korean talent forge Element Mystic, for which the head coach Rush had also been the head coach for. With the Ducklings following the hen to Dallas, a special type of team atmosphere is bound to arise.
I don't want to be in complete exacts. Like I don't like, oh, I want to be first or second or third. You know, I want to be competitive, and by competitive I mean like up in the like making those playoff runs. You know, on those tournaments. I want to be making those runs, hopefully winning those tournaments. You know, like coming in, really challenging the top dogs. You know, like in the likes of the Shock and stuff this season. You know, if you look at, I would say ranking wise, you know, it's all over the place. But I would say I think your rankings were pretty fair that I saw coming out. I think like the Justice, us, Shock, Glads are like probably the top in NA right now, just looking at it on paper. And like I want us up there. I want us to remain there and like be consistent. And I think one of the strengths of our team being, you know, connected to Rush and that like kind of family style that EM has is something that I don't think a lot of other teams have just yet, besides maybe like the Shock. You know, I think we have that going in, which is really good for like, if you're going like the upward trajectory and then someone hits, you can still come back up. Just like, even though it's early, the next cup, we kind of looked pretty bad and then we switched some stuff up and then turned it around. And I'm telling you that 1 week of practice between the two, you know, times was a night and day, and they got things straightened out really quickly. So I'm excited to see how they do it throughout the season. I think there's a lot of talent though. I'm not going to pretend that, you know, it's probably the toughest ever, right, in the year. And, you know, I want to make it out to Hawaii. You know, that would be a good one, you know, a good trip out there, you know. But yeah, I mean, I want us to be competitive. I want us gunning for the championship this year, of course.
We hope we were able to introduce you to a story that resonates with you as fans of competition. Investing your time into Overwatch esports on the advent of Overwatch 2 is likely to pay off next season, giving you a head start to be able to really appreciate the rich storylines the league develops every season. You can also get up to speed with our other Overwatch League content, such as our podcast series or our mini documentary, Learning to Win Again, in which we explore the past, present, and future of the Florida Mayhem. That turned from a laughingstock of the league into a top 5 team in North America. Moreover, GGRecon is looking to provide post-match interviews for some of these matches starting on Friday, April 16th. If you don't want to miss any of the action, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification for all things esports with GGRecon.